Have you ever wondered why some sales pitches just seem to work while others fall completely flat? Well, it usually has less to do with the product itself and, everything to do with the deep-seated psychology of why we buy things. So let's break down a really powerful persuasion playbook that taps directly into how the human mind works. All right, let's start with the big one. Why do so many sales pitches, even for amazing products, just completely miss the mark? The answer is actually surprisingly simple, but it's something most people get wrong. Here's the thing. Most people sell features and benefits, but the single strongest motivator for any human being isn't gaining pleasure, it's escaping pain. Psychologically, we're way more afraid of losing something than we are excited about gaining something. It's called loss aversion. And if your prospect doesn't feel the sharp, nagging pain of a problem they need to solve, guess what? There's no sale. Period.
And that leads us right into the first core concept here, the pain and pleasure principle. You see, every single sale is about finding that gap between where someone is right now, which is their pain, and where they desperately want to be, their pleasure. Your job is to become the bridge.
And this lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the person's current reality. Maybe they feel stuck, disrespected, just totally unfulfilled. And then on the right, that's their dream life. Financial freedom, traveling, being their own boss. Your goal is to make that gap between those two worlds feel so wide and so painful that they become absolutely desperate to cross it. So, how do you actually make that gap feel urgent? Well, you turn up the heat. This is all about taking what seems like a small, nagging problem and strategically making it feel like something they just can't live with for another day.
Okay, so this happens in 3 stages. First, you've got latent pain. So think of a warehouse worker who feels like his life is a bit repetitive, but he just kind of accepts it. He's got a problem, but he doesn't really see it as one. Your job is to move him to realized pain. You make him aware that, hey, his job could be automated or that he's wasting his best years. And then you escalate it to extreme pain, where the thought of spending another decade in that warehouse becomes so agonizing that he has to do something about it. This quote really just cuts to the heart of it, doesn't it? The goal is to make the pain of staying where they are so vivid, so intense, that doing nothing feels like a terrible choice. It creates this powerful, undeniable urgency to find a solution and to find it right now.
So once you've built that urgency, the next move is to position yourself, but not as a salesperson. No, you become the essential vehicle, the only bridge that can safely get them from their painful reality to that dream future they want so badly.
And here's the crucial part. You have to stop pitching. Instead, you basically act like a mirror. You listen to all their frustrations, all their fears, and you reflect them right back. But you reframe them. Their biggest problems suddenly become the exact things your solution was designed to fix. That dark future they're afraid of becomes the bright future you can help them build.
Of course, they're not just going to take your word for it, right? And this is where a super powerful psychological tool comes into play: social proof. You see, as humans, we are fundamentally wired to follow the herd. When we see that other people have already walked a path and succeeded, we feel a whole lot more confident about taking that first step ourselves. And the best kind of social proof, by far, comes from stories. Your own story of how you escaped a similar pain. Stories of past clients who were in the exact same spot they are now. These stories let the person see themselves in the hero's journey, and it makes their dream future feel not just possible, but totally achievable.
Okay, so you've built the pain, you've positioned yourself as the bridge, and you've backed it up with proof. Now, for the final step. How do you close the deal without getting dragged into all that back and forth about price and discounts? Let's look at 2 incredibly effective tactics.
Tactic number 1 is the confident price pause. It's so simple, but wow, it is powerful. It starts with you stating your price, and not in a hesitant or apologetic way, but with total, unshakable confidence, like it's the most reasonable number in the world.
And right after you state the price, here's the key. You say absolutely nothing. You just stop talking, go completely silent.
That silence, even if it's just for a few seconds, creates this intense psychological vacuum. It's human nature to want to fill silence, and that puts an enormous amount of pressure on the other person to be the one to speak first. And because you stayed silent and confident, the pressure isn't on you to defend the price anymore. It completely shifts over to them. They start doing the math in their head, they remember all that pain you uncovered, and they literally begin to justify the value all on their own.
All right, the second tactic is even more direct. It's all about using their own words. First, you get them to agree out loud that your solution is a perfect fit. Then, when they hit you with the, I'll think about it and start next month, you challenge it. You say something like, that's interesting. Just a few minutes ago, you told me this was exactly what you needed and you were excited to get started. What changed? You see, it gently corners them with their own logic, making it almost impossible to justify putting it off.
So, after hearing all this, I'm sure that phrase dark psychology might be ringing in your ears. I get it. It can feel a little, well, manipulative, right? So let's talk about the ethics of this whole playbook for a second.
And this quote really gets to the core of it. At the end of the day, these techniques are just tools. Whether they're good or bad depends entirely on your intent and, frankly, on whether you can actually deliver on your promises. If you genuinely believe your product can transform someone's life for the better, then using powerful persuasion to get them to take that leap, well, that isn't dark. That's just being helpful. And that leaves us with this one last question for you to chew on. If a technique works and it genuinely leads someone to a better place in their life, does it really matter how you got them there? Is it just effective persuasion, or is it cynical manipulation? Where do you draw the line?